What's going on, champs and champettes? It's FireMonkey here, and in today's YouTube video, we have to talk about the Fortnite ecosystem, or the Fortnite hub as it was called internally, and how Epic Games plans to rework it into this magical being that is going to be known as just the platform inside of Epic Games that hosts the Fortnite games. I know that was a weird way of saying it, but basically there's been some discussions online based on how Tim Sweeney has worded stuff, where it appears like he wants to rename Fortnite into a different game because he wants to kind of get rid of that association with Battle Royale that the name Fortnite has, to try proving that it is the everything game, right? You have every collaboration you could ever want, you have every single like skin you would ever want in the game, every single game mode you would ever want, even if some of them haven't been updated in a very long time, and all this stuff. And he wants to kind of use the Fortnite branding for, you know, Battle Royale and that type of stuff, but have the actual thing you launch called something else. And I wouldn't be surprised if like we get to a point later in the line where instead of launching Fortnite in order to play Battle Royale or whatever else it is, you launch like an Epic Games branded thing, right? Like the Epic Games platform, for example. Obviously that's just a random name I thought of, and inside of the Epic Games platform, where Battle Royale is where, you know, like Save the World and all that stuff is, but also has a lot of Fortnite or like non-Fortnite branded things a part of it that you can go ahead and launch. And now I know we've probably talked about this before, sometimes I forget if I've mentioned things in previous videos or not, but there is some added information that recently is kind of like surfaced that I feel like I've talked about like a year ago that could potentially lead to that whole entire platform naming shift to where Fortnite as we know it today ends up just being somewhere you launch in order to play tons of games. And it all starts off with Rocket League. Now, back when we were having tons of leaks for Rocket Racing and Rocket Racing was actually getting content, one of the leaks we had actually seen, and one of the leaks that we had actually talked about months and maybe even a year ago at this point, was related to something codenamed playlist_RL. Now, I could be kind of butchering the playlist name, but based on the playlist information we had, we knew it was going to include vehicles, we knew it kind of had the Rocket League branding inside of it, but we didn't know much else besides this. And as time goes on and as we get more and more information, there have been some rumors going around recently that potentially Epic Games is going to be looking to merge Rocket League into Fortnite itself. So instead of being on its own, you know, game or whatever, instead of being on Steam and everything, you would just launch Fortnite and be able to play Rocket League that way. Now, of course, it would be a huge transition. There would be a lot of stuff they would have to still do. I do think Fortnite has some very finicky car physics, and, you know, with Rocket League on Unreal Engine 3, they have it pretty solid there, so there's going to be a lot of shifting around and a lot of changes they're going to have to make in order to make it feel fluid and not like Rocket Racing, for example. But if it was to happen, it would mean that they would basically be sucking the entire soul of Rocket League into Fortnite. So instead of, you know, having Rocket League as its own app you would launch, it would be similar to what they do for like Lego Fortnite or Fortnite Festival or any of those things, where you launch it through Fortnite itself, or you have the little add-on download or whatever that allows you to launch specifically into that mode. Now, some recent leaks we've had from people like I think Winsowing and Lulu World over on Twitter have mentioned stuff like a brand new garage feature being worked on. Now, when we had the original Rocket Racing leaks way back in the day, it was called the Garage as well, but it appears like this newer version of the Garage that is being worked on is more of the Rocket League system, where you actually have like the car you can spin around and everything in the locker and all that stuff, but it has more of a Rocket League aesthetic going on with it. So that would be very interesting to see, but I am also kind of worried about it, because at the same time, if you think about it, when it comes to stuff Epic Games has acquired before, like Fall Guys and Rocket League, they've gone ahead and removed those applications from Steam, for example, in order to try making it, you know, the Epic Games launcher hub or whatever else. You have to use the Epic Games launcher to use these, and that would make it suck even more if Rocket League and maybe even Fall Guys in the future just get fully ported with their whole entire gameplay systems into Fortnite and only work if you're launching Fortnite itself, because that would mean if you had the games on Steam, you now have duds, right? You won't be able to play them anymore. If you had the Rocket League version of before they moved it over to Fortnite over on Xbox, PlayStation, whatever else, it would be a dud because you would have to download the Fortnite one. And honestly, one of my biggest concerns when it comes to this whole entire Fortnite ecosystem idea is the fact that this game is very unstable when it comes to creations. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but Fortnite updates itself every like 2 weeks, right? And with each update they do, it can break stuff. I mean, we've had times before when, you know, there will be a whole entire UEFN map, Death Run or whatever else, that works perfectly fine in Fortnite, works forever in Fortnite, and then one update will just be like, yeah, you know what, actually we don't want this to work anymore, so it breaks something that was like crucial. Sometimes they have little like config files that are incorrectly configured, so you'll be playing like creative mode and use like a bounce pad or something, and it won't bounce you at all, or maybe it will. And there's been times before with weapons weapons, like I think it was the like trash recycler weapon where you were able to kind of like shoot materials out of it, that randomly they just removed the audio from the files, right? They removed a lot of stuff related to it, so you were still able to use it in creative and stuff, but it was broken. And we've already seen time and time again how they've kind of messed with vehicles, you know, reworked them every single time. So it feels kind of scary to see that they might want to put Rocket League over in Fortnite fully, because if that goes with the whole entire plan they had before of Rocket League Next, which we have actually talked about on this channel before, which is basically Unreal Engine 5 Rocket League, then there would be a lot of stuff they would need to make sure is solid and doesn't get messed up from them working on Battle Royale or working on whatever else it is. And, you know, one thing I've also noticed with Fortnite over the past few years they've been releasing new game modes is when a game mode stops getting Battle Royale amounts of players, the updates stop coming. They become a lot smaller. I mean, for example, if you look at Fortnite Festival, that was hyped up. It has a whole entire crowd behind it, and it got to the point where some of the content creators that are actually, you know, behind the scenes working on trying to make as much Fortnite Festival content as they want, who have also come from like rock band backgrounds and stuff, they're kind of feeling disappointed because we're only getting like one song a week. And then when they do announce multiple songs, it's like, hey, we got 4 songs this week. It's like 3 of those songs were in battle passes before, only 1 of them is actually new, and it just feels like a lack of content. Whereas if you look at the early days of Fortnite Festival when it first started, it didn't have that lack of content, right? It was constantly getting so many new jam tracks and all this type of stuff, but now it just feels so lackluster. It feels like it doesn't really get too many updates, and I understand that something like a rock band style game doesn't need that many updates, but it just feels like this happens time and time again. I mean, if we look at Lego Fortnite Odyssey, that rarely gets updates. You know, it gets some updates here and there related to stuff that is going on in the other Lego Fortnite modes, like Expeditions right now, but at the same time, it feels like when they work on a new version of all this stuff, it just kind of makes something else get less attention. And I'm worried that that might end up happening to Rocket League if it gets put into Fortnite, and then it isn't able to convert as many players as they might have originally hoped. I know some people don't like the Epic Games launcher at all, me included, to be completely honest, so some people might literally quit playing Rocket League entirely if it gets fully consumed and merged into Fortnite, because they just don't want to be a part of the Fortnite ecosystem. They don't want to install the Epic Games launcher or whatever else it might be. So it is a 50-50 coin toss. You know, it's something that maybe they're working on. Maybe it's the revised idea for that Rocket League Next thing that was in the court documents we leaked a long time ago and talked about, and maybe it's something that never really even happens. But at the same time, something we've really noticed with Rocket League as the time has gone on is it doesn't really get too many updates here and there. I noticed that a lot of the times we get like little drops and stuff, you know, free rewards or whatever else in Rocket League. It's because of issues, it's because of bugs. That's the most times I've seen them go ahead and do stuff recently, is just, oh, there was an issue with this, so have 3 expert or import drops or whatever else it actually is, right? Exotic drops, all that type of stuff. And it's like, okay, you know, it's nice to see that you're giving these gifts out to players as like a little bit of an apology, but when that's basically your only content besides collaborations that are now like $30 instead of like $5 like they used to be, it just feels a little lackluster. And maybe it's just me feeling collab fatigue. You know, we have talked about collabs over and over and over again, but man, I just hope that if they do go ahead and decide to fully put Rocket League, including the Rocket Pass and everything else, inside of Fortnite, they at least make sure to keep giving it some unique content that allows it to not feel like it's just a game for them to import new collaborations into, instead of like original vehicles made by the Rocket League dev team, Psyonix and all that type of stuff. And hopefully, you know, they continue making good content for it. But until next time, I hope champs and champions enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about Rocket League potentially being merged into Fortnite, the everything gaming platform Epic Games wants to do? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think it sucks for people who mainly play it on Steam, such as myself, or whatever other opinions you might actually have about it? But until next time, I'll catch you champs and champions a little bit later with another upload. So peace out, after I get up here, of course. All right, peace out.